It's been a little over a month since we got the encounter points system, and in my initial video of it, I was pretty negative about it. And a lot of people, for the first time ever, accused me of being very negative about the game and a new feature that was purely a good thing, and just told me if I don't like the game to just quit it. That was new for me. I'm used to the opposite. If that's how some people saw it, then what can I do to change that? I was pretty clear about my opinions on it. I was unhappy with the system and how they implemented it, and at the end of the day, I said it wasn't a big deal. I can just keep on doing dailies as I always have. That is part of the problem though. I don't like the old daily system. I never really have. When you don't care about the achievements that it can give you, then the quests that are tied to the achievements really just feel like little world quests that they shoved in your daily system that take more time than the other 3 dailies did combined. So that's just going to lead us right into the good of this system. What do I actually like about it now that I've had my hands on it for a month? My preferred way to use this system has been to combine the old with the new, which I think many others have caught on to as well. The main problem I had with the event portion of the encounter points is that events are finite. They're not always going on, which led me to doing part of an event for a day, which would give me about 2 and maybe a fifth of encounter points, and then completing the 2 easiest dailies I could. This way, I can ration out the event for as long as possible within the event period and just have easy dailies for quite a while, at least as long as that event lasts, hoping that it lasts until when the next event starts. This works out pretty well. Event quests and events in general are just something that every player should be doing to maximize their primos and just their wishing potential. It's a classic 2 birds with 1 stone situation. You're getting your dailies done and you're doing the event you were going to do anyway. This is the best part about this system, and I love it when it actually works. Now, what about the exploration part of the encounter points? Now, this is great for when a new region comes out and you're exploring it and you just don't feel like doing your dailies because it breaks up your exploration. You don't feel like going back to the region you were just in necessarily just to do some dailies. You want to keep exploring, so you do, and you get your dailies completed. And if you're into the quests more than the open world exploration, well, I'm sure this applies to you as well in the same way. The only difference is quests vary in length, and that apparently affects how many encounter points you get. As an example, we have the poetry event that just passed. This event had 3 major quests, and each one of those gave you all 4 encounter points. The only problem is that quest, well, each one was probably around half an hour long or more if you actually listen to the dialogue. So I would really hope that counts for all 4 encounter points, because last night I lost track of time playing Don't Starve together with a friend, and I had to speedrun my dailies in under 3 minutes, which I did mostly thanks to the fact that I didn't get any really annoying dailies. So I would hope that a half-hour long quest would count as all 4 encounter points, because that is not efficient if you were just looking to do your dailies and get out. And on the topic of events, let's go over one of the major cons. In my initial video, we did have a ley line overflow going on at the time, and I posed the question of, will this even count towards encounter points? Because you're not really technically doing any event, you're just spending some resin and getting a bonus for it. Now that encounter points have been released and we have an overflowing mastery going on, we now have our answer, and it doesn't work. I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm still disappointed, if that makes any sense. Having an event like this count towards encounter points would have been the closest thing to getting Honkai Star Rail's system implemented in Genshin, given that many of their dailies tell you to do things like an artifact domain, or a ley line, or a talent book domain, to convert it into Genshin terms. Having the ley line overflows or the overflowing masteries count towards it would have been a big bonus in my books. So I'm very disappointed that it doesn't. I'm also a little worried that if we get reruns of old events like when Lieben comes around, because you don't really have to do anything for his event, you just kind of give him some apples or something and he gives you some materials back. I'm also a little worried that an event like that isn't going to count towards encounter points either. That's something that we'll have to find out later. For right now, most things are counting. And as I said previously, events are the best part of this because we do them anyway, so it is again just 2 birds with 1 stone. Great, now let's get into the really bad, and this was the part that I was actually most critical of whether I made that part clear or not. The exploration. For those of you who maybe are still unfamiliar with this system and you've just ignored it doing the old one, exploration means opening chests, collecting certain items, which basically means all the Oculus or Crimson Agates or Lumen Spar, and basically quests. All quests like Archon quests, story quests, world quests, invitation quests. I don't think hangouts count, but more or less every kind of quest. So to understand my dislike of this system, we have to go over the values because that is a big part of this. So for those of you who don't know, didn't pay attention, or just don't care, let's play a little game. We have 5 main types of chests: common, exquisite, precious, luxurious, and remarkable. Now, what do you think the value of each of these chests are? Is a common worth maybe a half point, an exquisite 1 point, a precious 1.5, a luxurious 2, and a remarkable maybe about the same as an exquisite because people hate these things? Or are the jumps much bigger than that, with a common and exquisite both being worth 0.5, a precious being worth 2 full encounter points, and a luxurious chest completing all of your dailies at once just because there's so few of them in the world? Well, let me just squash that dream dead right there, because every single chest is worth 0.5 regardless of the rarity. Yeah, that means a luxurious chest is worth just as much as a common. Regardless of whether you love the system or you're critical of it like myself, you gotta agree that that is total nonsense. As I mentioned in my initial video on this, we're talking about a finite resource here. These are never coming back regardless of the conspiracy theorists who believe that respawning chests are still a thing. So to have something as rare as a luxurious chest only give half of a daily? I mean, come on, that's just absurd. Then we can move on to the oculi. Can you guess how much those are worth? If you said 0.5, you are right. Remember how many people were complaining about how many dendroculi were in Sumeru? Well, there's 271. When you need 8 just to complete 1 set of dailies, that only equals a little over a month of dailies off just dendroculi alone. Now, mind you, most people aren't just going to collect dendroculi to complete their dailies. They might do a little exploration in an area, collect some dendroculi, get some chests, and it might add up to doing their dailies when they just do a little bit of exploration every day. And that's all fine and dandy. There's going to be at least some period in time where all of us benefit from this system like this. Whether you're a region speedrunner who completes it all in day 1 to 100% just because you love the exploration so much, or you're a player who hates the exploration, or you just do it for maybe 15 minutes when you're on a break from something like a public speaking class. The system inherently rewards those type of players, and one of the biggest things I saw as a pushback against my criticism about the system is that it was meant for newer players and not someone like me, someone who likes to explore when a new region comes out and likes to do it all at once. The only thing I ever wanted from the system was for it to include things like gathering ascension materials, killing elites or regular enemies, things that actually pertain to everyday exploration that any players at any progress level can do. And answer me this: who kills more elites and gathers more nonsense materials than new players who are experiencing a new region for the first time? There are of course exceptions, players that do have everything completed and still do that stuff just for fun. On average, a new player is likely going to be doing those activities a little bit more than someone who's been playing for a couple years. So to reiterate, in case it wasn't clear, I am overall happy that we have an alternative. I like that I can sometimes complete an event and not to do dailies at all, or do a little bit of a blended system where I do part of an event and then do 1 or 2 easy dailies. I also imagine that some players out there who are maybe a little bit more forgetful and missed out on some events that they would have preferred to have done will now be remembering thanks to this system, because hey, they can get their dailies done and their events done at the same time, and that is great. It also does help new players because they have tons of chests to find, tons of oculus to find, and there are a lot of times where they might just get caught up in exploration and bam, their dailies are done just anyway. Overall, I would still like to see the system grow, obviously. I mean, I want more from it because at present I still think Honkai Star Rail has a better system. And I know people are sick about hearing about Honkai Star Rail differences. I am too. A lot of people complain about little differences here and there, and for the most part, I think people are just being ridiculous because Genshin has a lot that Honkai Star Rail doesn't. But the one thing that I've always wanted from Honkai Star Rail ever since day 1 of me playing that game was the daily system. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. You know, do you like the system? Did it disappoint you? Did you maybe already love the old daily system for some godforsaken reason and you didn't care about the new one at all? I wouldn't actually write that in the comments below because it's kind of messed up. I mean, don't admit that to people, keep that to yourself. So thank you to my members and my patrons for supporting me as always. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Attaboy!